It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.
Song radio. Oh, keeping it live on Brian Muni's live song radio. Oh, keeping it live, 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 keeping it live. With Nyack Treasure, the amazing Sam Waymon, and singer supreme Phyllis Kee. And are we ever in good company today? Dr. Samuel L. Waymon.
Oh boy.
Not only is he an award-winning composer, musician, singer, pianist, arranger, producer, actor, and brother of Eunice Waymon. More on that after. Composer of Broadway and off-Broadway music for Joe Papp's Duke Ellington Boulevard. Lead actor in America's first black soap opera, Personal Problems. Shared stages with Miles Davis, Odetta, Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela, Quincy Jones, Donny Hathaway, etc. Composed a song for the Academy Award-winning film Philadelphia, directed by Nyacker Jonathan Demme, and starred in and composed the music to the movie Ganja and Hess, which won the Cannes Festival 1973 prize as one of the 10 best films of the decade, which is now in the Museum of Modern Art and was just recently reshot by Spike Lee. So, Sam Waymon?
Yes, you called?
What have you been doing all these years?
Oh, I've been waiting for this show.
There's so much more to say about him. But you know, the thing about this movie, Ganja and Hess, is that Sam has waited 46 years for the soundtrack of this iconic cult classic to be released. And it's going to be released this Friday.
And this is the soundtrack, which I have available back there. First time ever released on CD ever. It's 50 years old. It's classic. It's been re-digitized. It has photos inside that I have never even seen some of them. But you should get it. You really should, because it was shot here in Nyack. And I'll tell them about it later.
Yeah,
I'll tell you some story about
so
this.
Not only did Sam compose the music, but he stars in it. He has a triple role. He has 3 parts he plays. He's the chauffeur, and he drives around in his fancy cars, right?
Yeah.
He drives around in a Rolls and a Jag, which he just, they needed. This was made. It cost $300,000 in 1972-73 to make, and Spike Lee just remade it on a Kickstarter campaign for $1.4 million. But anyway, so Sam is a chauffeur. He is a stable boy,
Yes.
and he is the preacher. And without further ado, we want to show you a bit of Ganja and Hess.
This was shot in the Nyack Center, which is now, it was a church at that point, but now it's called the Nyack Center.
Yeah. Church? You know, I'm high right now, but I'm high on the Lord. Yeah. When you got a high on Jesus, you high. That's right. And if one thing can bring you down, and that's yourself, and that's the devil. But the devil ain't gonna come in here, I tell you. I ain't gonna let evil in here. Evil is not coming between those doors back there. Life to be prayed for. Would you come? Is anyone that would like to be? We're not playing, church. I mean business. I mean, you might think I'm playing, but I mean business. All right. Because I'm from the same place you're from. Amen. Right. Amen. I'm the same place. I'm no different than anybody else here. That's right. All right. Amen. You know, that's right. Amen. Oh, glory. Hallelujah.
Don't you know that he died upon the cross?
Sam Waymon. So there's a lot to say about this film. Do you want to come up?
I have to tell you, are y'all from Nyack? Yeah. Okay. All right, now I can talk now. Okay. The Nyack Center was never. It wasn't the Nyack Center back then. It was a church, and the lady that was on the pulpit, Reverend Austin, she was the pastor of that church. And when we shot this film in Nyack, no one has ever seen a film crew like this in Nyack before. So the scene calls for Dwayne Jones from the Night of the Living Dead. That's who that was. Okay. He came to be redeemed, redemption and salvation. One doesn't have to be a religious person to understand the point of that. He could only die in the shadow of the cross. And I played the role of a stableman and a preacher, obviously, as you can see. When we shot this scene, it was a real service going on. Reverend Austin says, you guys, to the film crew, you cannot come into my church until we have finished the service. So it was like we had 100-member crew, and we all had to wait outside with the fog, with the lights and the trucks and the trailers until she finished preaching, because that was a real congregation. Those were not actors. Nobody up on that stage was acting, not even me. But so we had to wait. So we said, okay. So after she finished her service, she sent her deacon out and said, okay, now you can come in. So Bill Gunn said, the director said, okay, now we can start the service. That's when I walk up on the pulpit, and that's when you all see me. That's when it was cut, and y'all saw me playing at the piano and everyone enjoying their service. That whole scene was shot in one take. I told Bill Gunn, I said, I cannot do this more than once. There's no way I could repeat that, because then it wouldn't be real. It would be, you would see us acting out that scene. And that's not what we wanted. We wanted it to be as original as possible. And so, Dwayne, as you saw him walk out, we were so intense and emotionally drained that we had to take an hour off before we could even do another scene. But that whole scene was the inspiration for Spike Lee's film, The Sweet Blood of Jesus. And that's when he called me and said, Sam, I want the rights to your song. You got to learn to let it go, which I'm going to perform later on, and Phyllis is here. We're going to perform the song for you live tonight. Okay, I'll have a whole bunch of songs we're going to perform for you tonight. And
Sam,
yes.
How you weren't really acting?
No,
in that scene. That was Sam Waymon channeling what he had grown up with, right?
Yes. I mean, my mother was an ordained minister. She died when she was 99. I had 8 brothers and sisters. I've got 10 preachers in my family. I mean, so yes, part of that was my DNA. But Bill Gunn said, Sam, this scene, the church scene, that's you. I can't write that. And that's why I was the consultant to the film as well. I was as they call the spiritual consultant to the film, because the whole film was based on the shadow of the cross and dying in the shadow of the cross. Yes.
So this film was intended to be a black sexploitation 1970s.
Shaft, Superfly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's so much more. You could see how poetic it is in terms of the shots, and there are so many levels that it became something else, right? And this was the vision of Bill Gunn, the director, writer, who had done a lot. Who was Bill Gunn? And
well, Bill Gunn was not only my friend, but he was the very first black director to be given a full Hollywood movie, a movie called Stop. And he was friends with Jimmy Dean and all those great actors back in the day. He was a prolific writer. He wrote 3 of the series to the Bill Cosby, when Bill Cosby show was alive. When the show was alive, not when Bill Cosby was alive, but when the show.
He's still alive.
He's very much alive in jail.
He's alive in jail.
But the scene that Bill Gunn wrote, in which he stars in, if you remember any of the Bill Cosby episodes, was the scene where Cosby has a bunch of his fellow buddies to come over and play cards. Bill Gunn is in that scene. He wrote 3 of those episodes. And Bill Cosby and I, all of us were close friends, but that was one of many Bill Gunns. Bill Gunn and I wrote the Muhammad Ali story, The Greatest. We did that.
You wrote these in Nyack.
Right here in Nyack. I own Ben Heck's old house up in Upper Nyack.
Ben Heck.
Ben Heck, the writer. You know who Ben Heck was?
He was a Jewish writer.
He wrote Wuthering Heights, the film called Wuthering Heights. Well, I bought his estate back up in Upper Nyack in Perry Lane.
On Perry Lane.
Yes. So I lived there for 10 years.
And it was a pretty wild time.
It was a great wild time.
I mean, I wasn't there.
No.
But the stories, I mean, you had quite illustrious visitors.
I did. I had Lena Horne. I had Muhammad Ali, Jesse Jackson, Samuel L. Jackson. Who can I say? Helen Hayes used to come over.
She was a neighbor.
Yes, right down the street. There was Toni Morrison. There was Ruby Dee, R.C. Davis. There was Marvin Gaye. That was you making me name drop. Now.
Well, why not? What else am I good for?
But,
you really brought all this Afro-American culture to Nyack.
Well, we had the president of talk about African country, Odetta, Marilyn Kiva used to come there. Nina Simone used to stay with me for about 6 months up there.
Nina Simone is Sam's.
That's my sister.
Older
Nina
sister,
Simone.
yeah.
Then we had the president of Nigeria, Liberia was there with his concubines, 10 of them to be exact.
Travels light, huh?
Oh, well, he traveled very light. But what was interesting was my neighbor was Mrs. Lehman of Lehman Brothers, and she was fantastic. She would always make us move our cars so she can get her limousine in, and it always got in her way. And so she would send her butler over to say, tell Mr. Waymon to move tell Bill, he had an MG, one of those MGs back in the day, move his MG out of the way. I had a classic car also, but I had a 63 XK150 drop head coupe Jaguar. Well, she would always complain because we were always blocking her limo. And she loved us because whenever I would have a band rehearsal, I always had it out on the lawn. And she used to love that. So she would send her butler over to say, tell Bill and Sam to come over. We're going to have 4 o'clock tea. We went over and we always had 4 o'clock tea. Now, I have to explain a little something about the house, because they eventually sold the house to Ellen Burstyn, but you got to know this. The house was built in 1730. It used to be an underground slave house. It had a copper roof, still does. 20-something rooms. The walls were like 3 foot thick. Wine cellar. Had a wine cellar, a gym with a fireplace, the walls, stenciled floors. I'm bragging about it because it was a example of craftsmanship. And I used to have to restore that house. I'm not bragging because of my ego. I'm just talking about what it was. It had a tennis court, had a wall that went straight down to the river. I had a beach. Then there was an apple orchard. There was a pool with a woman, I forgot the name of the sculptor, but she was with wings like this and the water came out of her mouth. It was a fabulous place. It was beautiful. 7 fireplaces. And here were these 2 colored men living in this place. And Mrs. Lehman loved it. But we made Ganja and Hess, and we submitted it to the film board to be considered for, if you wanted to be, as all films, to be rated, etc. They didn't understand this film at all. What we said, okay, the only way that we can do this film, and, well, it was our dream. Bill's dream. I was his co-author, not co-author, but I was his, what they call, typesetter. I corrected all his writings. And
Proofreader.
Proofreader. I was his proofreader on everything he ever wrote. And we submitted it to Cannes, France. And we get this telegram saying it was accepted. It blew our minds. How can this little inky-dinky film, that's what we called it, we were proud of it, but Lady Sings the Blues was out. Some of these other Hollywood multi-millionaire dollar films were out. The Queen of France, what's her name? We called her Josephine Baker. She saw the film and escorted Bill around France like she was a queen, because she was. I didn't go. I had to stay and maintain the fort. But in order for us to get to France, or for me or Bill to get to France, we had a tennis court, which we hardly ever used. So Mrs. Lehman wrote a check. She said, okay, you want to go to France? She was so proud of us. She wrote us a blank check. She bought the tennis court so that Bill can go to France. Now, this was in 1973. I mean, she wrote a check for $10,000. She didn't know how much the tennis court was worth. She said, here's a check for $10,000. It really was worth more than that, but she wrote $10,000. Bill went to France. Sent me a telegram, said, Sam, I don't believe this, what's going on. Diana Ross was furious. Columbia Pictures, Warner Brothers, Universal, none of their movies got the kind of attention that Ganja and Hess got. Well, everyone knows that Europeans in general kind of have a different sensibility and sensitivity and appreciation for art than American artists do. It's a known fact. That's why a lot of musicians go to Europe and live there and stay there. But they have another approach to film. Hollywood paid no attention to this film. The press didn't really like it. They didn't understand it. But let me get back to France and Bill and so forth and Mrs. Lehman, because she's a great part of my life. She was so thrilled at hearing what happened because she sent Bill over. I mean, she had one lawn party that I will never ever forget in our honor. And she was, one of the benefactors of the Lehman Brothers. But she made a donation to us, and I cannot tell what that is because that's none of your business. I can't do that. That would be divulging something, Bill. I can't do that. That wouldn't be right. But this is the first time I ever said that. But Bill came back from France. We opened up the film at the Playboy Theater on 57th Street with the street lights and the fog lights and spotlights like typical Hollywood with the red carpet treatment. They closed off 57th Street. All the stars in the world were there, black and white. Nina, my sister, came, and I can't even tell you how many stars were there. They loved that film. But after it closed at 57th Street, no one wanted to pick it up. It played maybe one theater, and that was about it. It stayed there for about 2 weeks. I say all that to say that Bill would be very proud today to know the cult status that Gungeon has. I am thrilled that my music has been received. They're calling it a masterpiece. They're calling things that I never used, that I never thought of. I mean, I was 24 years old when I wrote this score. This is my first movie. I got my doctorate based on this film. I'm a doctor of music from the University of Indiana, Bloomington. Why? Because at the university, at all the black universities, they love the film. It's in the Schaumburg. We had to steal, and I don't mind saying it because it's documented. We made 2 negatives of this film because the producers who produced it, gave us the money, hated it, cut it up. It's been changed 4 times. My name was taken off the film. Bill's name was taken off, and there's another actor playing, not even playing me in the film. Somebody called me up and said, I saw your face on 42nd Street on one of those placards that they put on the sidewalk. Name of the film was Blood Couple. So what are you talking about? And sure enough, there it was. This film has been through the mud. But we gave the negative to the Museum of Modern Art, and it's now in their permanent archives. It's been there since 1973. We gave it to the Schaumburg Library. It's there. It's at Howard University, Spelman, Morehouse. The black universities embraced it because of its nature and its work of art.
And things never were shown before.
No.
When you see this, the cinematography and it's unbelievable, but it presents Afro-Americans as they've never been presented before. And the lovers, oh my God.
And nobody knew them back then. You know, I mean, like the lights for shooting against black skin is different. You have different color, shades of light for white skin versus black skin. And we wanted to do that. We wanted to make us look beautiful and as should be.
It's just amazing that Bill got it made. Because they were buying something else.
Oh man, no, we had to fight with the producers. I mean, the offices were 42nd and Lenox Avenue and Lexington Avenue. We had a big fight, and we threw the water cooler out of the 45th floor down on Lexington Avenue because they wanted to. Bill went crazy over it. I mean, I'm talking about Bill. I haven't tell you what I did, but that was okay too. I'm proud of this film. Here it is 50 years later, and it's getting enormous amount of recognition, Brian. I cannot tell you how it makes me feel. I'm overwhelmed. I'm grateful. And the University of Indiana had invited Bill and I to go out there and lecture and speak. And when they called me and said, Sam, we want you to come out and lecture to an auditorium full of professors and of music, doctors of music. Now, I'm 24 years old. What am I going to say to these people? I said to my agent. Well, they want to hear what you had to say, how you made the film, because you were doing something that they wish they could do. I said, that made sense to me. And I went out there twice, and I am to this day honored to the University of Indiana, and I'm grateful that I did get my doctorate based on this. And then I've been asked to speak to a lot of universities as a result of this film.
And may I ask you to play something now?
Yes, you may.
Would you like to hear Sam play something else from Gungeon Hess? Did you want it? That's yours.
That's mine.
Yeah.
I will play. I hope y'all like this film. I really do. I think it's at the Nyack Library. I gave it to the Nyack Library. This CD that some of you are going to buy tonight. Listen to me say that with my arrogant self. I want you to buy it. Why? Because there's a booklet inside. There's a 16-page liner note inside. There's photographs inside. I've never seen a CD like this. It's produced and released by Howlin' Wolf. Y'all remember Howlin' Wolf? Some of you do. Well, it's on Howlin' Wolf Records. Please buy it, because every dollar that a dollar comes out of, I'm giving it to, this is National Breast Cancer Month. And I'm donating the money to breast cancer. I'm a cancer survivor. So I just like to say, it's a worthy cause. And so now I'm going to sing for you and play for you the theme from Ganja and Hess, and I'm going to ask my singing partner, Phyllis Kee, to come up. Oh. Okay. And this is the song that Spike Lee based his film on, this song that I'm playing now. You've got to learn to let it go. You've got to know when it's all over. You've got to learn to let it go. You got to know when it's all over. I say you got to learn to let it go.
To let it go.
You got to know when it's all over.
When it's all over.
Oh, you got to learn to let it go. You got to know when it's all over. I say now you've got to learn.
You've got to learn
to let it go.
To let it go.
When it's all over.
When it's all over.
You've got to learn.
You've got to learn
to let it go.
To let it go.
You've got to know when it's all over. Oh, say now you've got to learn.
You've got to learn
to let it go. You've got to know when it's all over. I say you got to learn.
You've got
to let it go.
To let it go.
You got to know when it's all over.
When it's all over.
I say now you've got to learn.
You've got to learn
to let it go.
To let it go.
When it's all over, over. Oh, say you've got to learn to let it go. When it's all over. I say now you've got to learn.
You've got to learn
to let it go.
To let it
You
go.
got to know when it's all over.
When it's all over.
You got to learn.
You've got to learn
to let it go.
To let it go.
You got to know when it's all over.
When it's all over.
You got to learn
You've got
to let it go.
To let it go.
You got to know when it's all over. Over.
Let it go.
Got to learn. Thank you, Phyllis.
Thank you.
Thank you. When Spike, he keeps secrets. He never lets you know what he's going to do before he does it. And so when he said to me, I want your song, can I have the rights to it? I said, well, yes. I mean, I knew Spike. He's been a fan of Bill Gunn's in this movie for years. And mine too. And I love Spike. And I said to Spike, yeah, okay, yeah, you can have the song. Only on one condition. There's a caveat here. His caveat is, you have to treat the song with the same reverence and spirit that I wrote the song in and that it was used for Ganja and Hess. Now, I knew that I was talking to Spike Lee, and I knew I was like being a little preaching to him, like a father. Yes, but he understood because he respected me. His father was a very famous bass horn player, okay? So he said, oh, I will, my doctor. When he calls me Dr. Waymon, I know he's very serious. He didn't call me Samuel. I said, okay, Spike. That was on a Thursday. Friday, he calls me on a Thursday. I didn't accept the call. He called me on Friday, I accepted the call. Monday, we made a deal by 10 o'clock. 2 weeks later, my lawyer calls me and says, there's a car coming to pick you up, and you're going out to Brooklyn. Okay. Phyllis is with me. Now, I didn't know where I was going. I knew I was going to a Spike Lee movie, but I had no clue. It was a remake of Ganja and Hess. I really did not know that. Until, Phyllis, you know what happened, because what happened was very simple. We drive up to this church, and there's this crew, and the assistant AD, the assistant director, comes out and says, okay, you all have to wait a minute, and Spike will escort you all in when the time. So you'll have to wait out here for a minute, wait out here for a few minutes. We said, okay. So we stood out and we waited for a few minutes. Then they came back out and said, now you can go in. We went inside. And I walked inside and I saw myself. I saw the scene, I saw the church. And I looked at Phyllis, I looked at my lawyer, Alicia Crow, and I said, this looks like I've seen this before. Spike Lee escorts me and sits us down. And then there's a scene, and there's Valerie Simpson sitting at the piano playing this song, You Got to Learn. Yeah, the great Valerie Simpson. I said, whoa, I was so thrilled. I was touched. Spike Lee knew that I was surprised because he didn't tell me what he was doing. He knew it. He knew it. And he just looked at me while I just wormed and I just crawled and I just called him everything but a child of God. And the interesting thing that I'll be quiet because I know you know how I get to talking and I don't know how to stop sometimes. But the scene called for what you saw there. And the actor playing me did not do a very good job. And Spike says, cut! Walked up there, and took him to the corner, said something to him. And then he came back, okay, action. Cut. Still didn't do a good job. And I'm sitting there. And Alicia said, Sam, you ought to go up and play yourself on this scene. I said, well, no. I think that might have been you or Alicia that might have said it. And I said, well, and Spike Lee walks up and says to him, something in the corner, whatever he said to him, when he went over to the corner, that actor turned right back around and went back to the scene. And Spike said, cut. And he walked up to the front of the podium and said, okay, I'm sick and tired of you all sitting there. These are all actors in the congregation. Those are real people. He said, now, y'all in a black church. Why are y'all sitting there so quiet like you don't know where you're at? I mean, he really, you know, and I know when Spike sees this film, we'll hear about this. I'm telling the truth here. He says, no, this is supposed to be a black church, you know, just like you see, because every culture is different, whether you're Jewish, white, or whatever, Hindu, Buddhist. And I suggest that you start acting like it. And I think he might have said, otherwise you're fired. He might have said something to that effect. And then he walked up to the actor that's playing the preacher, and he said something to him again. Then that's when he turned around and said, okay, by the way, the gentleman that you're playing in the song that you are singing is sitting right back there. And that was me. They didn't know I was there. Well, that did something to motivation, did something for inspiration, because at that point, they did it right. He did it right. And it was really quite a church-stomping kind of performance. And it was, and Valerie Simpson, I've never seen her shout before, but she shouted and she played, and it was a great performance. And as Spike walked back to where his camera was, because they were on a track. We didn't have tracks in my day when we did the film, but he had a track, and he came back and he kind of winked at me, like, okay, did I do it? And after the take was over, remember we went outside, and he walked up to me and he said to me, I'll never forget these parting words, "What do you think Bill Gunn would say after what I just did?" Because he knew I would know. I said, "Bill would be proud. He'd be very proud of you. You did a superb job." And he asked me, "What did you think?" And I told him what I thought. And he gave me a hug and a kiss, and that was it. That was the scene. And I said, "You know, you a sneaky little man. You didn't even bother to tell me that you were making this film, a remake of my film." And he said, "I know, I wanted to surprise you." I said, "Well, you are a great artist. I owe you. Thank goodness. Thank God for you. And keep doing what you're doing." That's how the sweet blood of Jesus got to be how it's made. So I thank Spike Lee for doing it. I didn't realize that we touched him so hard, so well, and so deeply, that he would go and make a movie based on my song. But that's the little bit of a trivial pop news for you.
Well, you were groundbreakers, and he respected that.
And he did.
And
I
in the tradition of black filmmaking.
Yes, he did. And I
Yeah.
respected him for respecting me and respecting the art form.
Yeah.
No, it was amazing.
Absolutely.
I mean, okay, that's,
So, Sam,
yes.
you...
And thank you all for coming,
Yeah.
first of all.
Yeah, really.
I really, really,
Yeah. So, Sam, you and Nina were 2 of 8 kids, raised in Tryon, North Carolina, on the South Carolina border. And you were grandchildren of slaves.
My father was born in 1898. And his father was my grandfather, so I'm a grandson of a slave, yes.
And you grew up through the Jim Crow South in the 40s and the 50s. But your family kept it together. You all learned to play the piano, all 8 of you.
All 8 of us, plus the 2 of them, that makes 10. My father was a honky-tonk piano player, and my mother was a vaudeville lady, dancer before she became an ordained minister. Yes.
So there was a lot of music in your upbringing.
I would say it was.
Yeah. But I just have to ask, like, what was it about your family that produced world-class musicians?
You think I know the answer to that question?
I mean, what
you
could
better
it
ask
have
somebody
been?
who made us.
What could it have been, you know? I mean, there must have been a lot of love and a lot of support and a lot of discipline.
Yes.
You know?
Well, there was. Love, yes. We were poor, but we didn't know we were poor. We were clean. We had food on the table. We were obedient. We were mannerly. We never yelled at our mothers. We obeyed her. My father taught me, he became a minister later on, but he's one generation removed from slavery, so he couldn't express himself as well as he should have, because first of all, black men were not, were told not to cry, not to show so emotions. He was born in when I found that out, my father was born in 1898. Wow. And a lot of the pictures that I have that are on the internet, I'm wearing my great-grandfather's hat. It's 150 years old. I still have that hat. It has all the holes in it. And somebody kept telling me, give it to, what do you call them, hatcheries? I guess people who repair hats. I said, no way. I want all those holes in that hat, because if those holes could talk, I want to hear what they have to say. I don't want you to make this. No, don't make it clean. No. So, I have that hat. It's in a storage unit. It's covered in glass, and it's protected. Everybody wants to buy that hat. I said, no. But he taught me how to fish and sow and farm. He owned the very first black dry cleaning business on Main Street in Jim Crow, North Carolina. He owned a barber shop in our house. And of course, that house now is being restored as a national treasury because of my sister, where I was born. Who ever thought that where you were born is going to, you asked that question about how did all 8 of us, well, how did that happen?
Yeah.
And I'm in conversation with the National Trust Organization, the headquarters in Chicago, saying, Dr. Waymon, we're going to restore your house where I was born. What? I was so thrilled, but at the same time, totally perplexed.
It was a 3-bedroom house, right? It is.
Excuse me? 3 bedrooms would be considered a mansion back then. No, we had 2-room house. No, we had. It wasn't 3 bedrooms, but it wasn't 3. It was, I guess, 3 rooms. But we had outside running water. I remember when we got our first television. It was black and white, and then when it was converted to color. I know I'm giving my age, but that's all right. I'm proud of my age. Are you kidding me? It shows you the times have changed. But that's why I think all of us in the family are very humble. I'm a very humble man. I'm not an extravagant person. And I think that's because of my upbringing. And there's a Rolls Royce and there's a Jaguar in the movie, and they were mine, but I was entitled because I like good cars, number one. I like good sports cars. I had a Corvette. I like good craftsmanship. I like old cars because they're solid. They're not plastic, like today's cars,
So, moving right along. So you became an activist.
Yes, I did.
And you marched with. It sounds like you were everywhere.
Well,
where you needed to be in the '60s.
I've had my share of some beatings, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think the worst was Cairo, Illinois. We marched there. Philadelphia, we grew up in Philadelphia when Mayor Rizzo was the mayor, and he was really a dog of a mayor. He was really he was not a nice man. And the black postal workers had a strike. If you're a government employee, you're not supposed to strike. Well, he was counting on them not striking, but they did. And the reason that they were striking was because the white postal workers that were hired got seniority over the black postal workers who had been there many, many years before them. And they said, if you don't give us a raise, we're going to strike. He said, I dare you. And they did. They had secret meetings all around Philadelphia. I was brought up in Philadelphia, so I kind of know. And the places that they were having these clandestine meetings. First, the best way that you can affect change is you hit the pocketbook, the wallet. That always brings about change in any governmental situation. It's not always about ethnic this or morality, it's about the paycheck. It always gets down to money at the bottom line. The first week went by, no mail delivery. Second week went by, no mail delivery. All the politicians are freaking out. We're not getting our checks, welfare checks, the government checks, their bonus checks. So they had to hire some, what do they call them, scabs? Scabs, okay. I think after about a month or so, he realized, oh, these black folks are serious. And that's when they brought in Martin Luther King. This was in the 60s.
So you...
And I marched with Martin Luther King.
You marched with Martin Luther King.
Well, we went to jail that night.
You were jailed with Martin Luther
You
King.
went to jail. I mean, after the goon squads came, but the same thing happened in Philadelphia, Mississippi, and the same thing happened in Cairo, Illinois, where the tanks came in, the goon squads, we call them, and the batons and the German Shepherd dogs and the water hoses.
And so Nina recorded a song which kind of became the anthem of that movement. Billy Taylor's song?
Well, there were several songs. Well, she did. She wrote For Women, which, because of the advent of putting down black women who were not beautiful by society standards, and the women, some of the women that were, should I say, jailed or not treated humanely. She wrote about 4 particular personalities of women.
Do you want to perform that song?
I would like. Would y'all like to hear the 4 women? Okay.
Come on, Phyllis.
Would you come
on.
up and sing 4 women for the? Okay. Wow, what a great audience. It's nice to have people that appreciate your music.
Skin is black. My arms are long. My hair is woolly. And my back is strong. Strong enough to take the pain inflicted again and again. What do they call me? My name is Aunt Sarah. My name is Aunt Sarah. My skin is yellow and my hair is long. Between 2 worlds I do belong. My father was rich and white. He forced my mother late one night. What do they call me? My name is Saffronia. My name is Saffronia. My skin is tan and my hair is fine. My hips invite you and my mouth like wine. Whose little girl am I? Anyone who has money to buy. What do they call me? My name is Sweet Thing. My my skin is brown and my manner is tough. I'll kill the first mother I see, 'cause my life has been rough. I'm awfully bitter these days. Because my parents were slaves. And tell me, what do they call me? My name is Peaches. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Well, it's hard to do justice to a Nina Simone song like that, you know. And she really does. Phyllis Kee. Beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
Do you want to play one of your songs, or what do you feel like?
I will love to, but I got to tell you, it's a nice little story.
Okay, let's go.
I'm talking again, but that's because I get motivated and I get started. What happened is that after Nina died in 2003, I never played that song. I mean, I was with her for like 20 years, but I was her organist and her became a manager later on, her confidant. She trusted no one but me. I was the only one that ever allowed to call her Eunice, ever. But after so many years after she passed away, I've heard a lot of people try to sing that song. I never played it after she died until I met Phyllis. And this is a true story, and I said, okay, I'm going to do this song in concert, and I've been playing concerts ever since. And Phyllis Kee is the only one that I feel embodies the total spirit of this song. That's why Phyllis sings this song, and that is why I play it for Phyllis. I've never heard anybody else do it like Phyllis. So Phyllis, I truly thank you.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. You're quite welcome. Thank you. And I love telling that story because it's the truth. Okay. Now, where were we?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we can take a right or a left, or we can keep on going straight. I mean, I would love to hear I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free. Oh. How do you feel about that?
Well, I wish I knew how. I like to give honor to composers also. I feel like people who write things, they should be given credit for it. Whether you're a painter, a sculptor, a shoemaker, garbage collector, I don't care who you are, you ought to be given credit for that because that's your craft, that's what you do. So Dr. Billy Taylor wrote this song. And I'd like to do it for you now. I knew how it would feel to be free. And then I wish that I could break all these chains holding me. I wish I could do all the things that I should do. And though they're way overdue, I would be starting anew. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. how sweet it would be if I found I could fly. I would soar to the sun, and then I would look down at the sea. Then I would sing, 'cause I know how it feels to be free. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all these chains holding me. Now, if you feel like you can also clap now. Come on, I need some help. There you go. I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if I found I could fly. I would soar to the sun and look down at the sea. 'Cause then I would sing, 'cause I know. 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 Oh, oh, I would fly like a bird in the sky. No, oh, I would sing, 'cause I know. Oh, I would fly, I know, like a bird in the sky. I know. Oh, oh, I would sing, 'cause I know. Oh, oh, I would sing, yeah, 'cause I know. Oh, oh, I would fly like a bird. Oh, I would fly 'cause I know in my heart I would fly. 'Cause my soul would be free. 'Cause I know in my heart how it feels. Oh, my. Lord have mercy. It's all right, it's all right. 'Cause I know how it feels to be free. Yes, I would. Oh, yes, I would. To be free. Thank you. Oh, man. Brian. I don't know, Brian.
That was gorgeous.
I don't know, Brian.
That was gorgeous, Samuel.
Baltimore.
Let's do it.
Now you see you got me.
Going?
Yeah.
Good.
What's that rabbit that keeps saying,
job.
I keep going and going and going and going? Now we got to pick it up spirit. Yeah. Woo. Beat up little seagulls on a marble stair. Oh, trying to find an ocean, looking everywhere. Hard times in the city, hard times by the sea. Oh, ain't nowhere to run, 'cause you see, ain't nothing here for free. Oh, drunks are lying on the sidewalk, and they're sleeping in the rain, in the rain, in the rain, in the rain. People hide their faces, covering up their pain. I say now, oh, Baltimore, ain't it hard just to live? Oh, Baltimore, ain't it hard? Ain't it hard? Ain't it hard? Oh, just to live. Phyllis, you wanna come up here? Just to live. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, just to live now, 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 now. Just to live. I see, call my sister Sadie.
Hey, Sadie.
And I call my little brother Ray.
Ray.
Oh, they're driving a little red wagon now to haul us all away. Oh, I'm living out in the country where the mountains are high, high. Oh, I'm never gonna go, never gonna go, never gonna go back there till I die. Hey, I say, oh, Baltimore, ain't it hard?
Ain't it hard
Just to live,
to live?
just to, oh, Baltimore, ain't it hard? Ain't it hard? Ain't it hard? Oh, just to live,
Just to live.
oh, no, 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 just to live, just to live,
Just to
live, just to live, just to live, just to live, just to live, just to live, just to live, just to live, just to live, just to live. Ah.
Just to live.
Oh, say now, now,
Right now, right now, right now.
right now, right now,
Right
right now, now.
right now. Oh, Baltimore. It's so hard.
So hard, so hard.
Just to live.
Just to live.
Just to
Say now,
live.
Baltimore, 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 just to live, yeah.
Just to live.
You see now, I'm living out in the country where the mountain is high and the air is good and the
So
food is
high,
great.
so good.
I'm never gonna go back there, you know, 'cause till the day I die, I say now, oh, Baltimore, ain't it hard
Ain't it hard
just to live?
just to live?
Say, oh, Baltimore, ain't it hard? Ain't it hard? Ain't it hard? Oh, just to live, just to live,
Just to live.
oh, just to live, my
Just to
mind.
live. It's so hard. I see them laying on the street when it's cold. They wanna get the buses and send them to California, so they can't be seen.
Just to live, ain't it hard?
Just to
Ain't it hard?
live. Just to live.
Just to live,
Just to
live.
live. just to live.
Just to live, just to live. It's hard.
Just to live. Just to live. So hard. Just to live. Not just to live, everywhere.
No.
Getting harder and harder and harder and harder.
Just to live.
Just to live.
Just to live is hard.
Just to live.
Yes. Go.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about. But you all know that. Yeah, y'all weren't just born yesterday. Just to get where we are today, you know, you had to just, as my father used to say, you had to burn some decent fires, you know. How you doing, Brian?
How are we doing?
Yeah, how are we doing?
So, Sam,
Yes.
could we ask you perhaps to do I Shall Be Released? Or actually, I mean, that would be your final song unless you wanted to do
Who's going to
your
ask?
Ganja and Hess song before that.
Yeah, Phyllis, could you bring me my tonic water? Yeah, I don't drink anything but tonic water. I know I'm addicted to quinine. I know that. Well, we've been talking about addiction all night, but he was addicted to blood. I'm addicted to quinine. So
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It was all about addiction.
Yes, okay.
And I think we're all addicted to music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it is. And you know, people used to ask me about that, about writing music, composing music, because I've been playing the piano since I was 3 years old. My mother told me that I crawled up to a piano to play the piano. You know, I was playing the piano before I could even walk or talk that well. Because we all walk, breathe, live, make love, eat in rhythm. Everything we do has a rhythm, has a meter to it. And when I wrote music, I wrote 3 Broadway musicals for the late Joe Papp and the Shakespeare Festival that went to Broadway. Forbidden City, Black Picture Show, and one other that I can't remember. And it all had to do, because not every kind of composer can write music to the written word. Not write words, music to words, but to the written word, spoken words, I guess what I'm trying to say. That's a different art form. And I guess that's where I come from. That's where my appreciation of the language comes from. That's probably why I talk so much.
Does he talk too much? I don't think so.
Oh.
It's a radio show after all. So you mean it? You come from an oral tradition?
Because I think, yes, and the reason for that is very simple. The English language was invented for a particular reason. But also, it has its drawbacks, because the English, there are some things that words cannot describe or explain. There are many emotions that I don't know whether there is a word anywhere in the world that can describe certain perplexities and paradox of the paradoxical part of our lives. Music, however, is the glue and the cement that brings all that together. It makes us, all cultures have sound. Every culture in the world responds to sound. Human nature responds to sound. Nature is sound. Not human nature, but nature is a sound. There's a lot of noise in silence. A great deal of noise in silence. You don't hear it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Musicians, and we're not the only ones, but we're talking about me and me, because I'm a musician, I am a messenger. I know that I am a messenger because I absorb vibrations around. Everything that happens in the world, I can translate to music. I don't know where that gift comes from. It's a gift. I'm not bragging. I'm saying I don't understand it. My mother taught me one thing. She did say, if you do not use it, no, she said, don't abuse it. If you do not use it, don't abuse it, otherwise you will lose it. Don't abuse it. I don't misuse my talent. Don't misuse it, don't abuse it, otherwise you will lose it. That's what she would say. Don't misuse it, don't abuse it, otherwise you will lose it. I never forgot that. She said that to me, I think, when I was 4 years old, because I didn't understand it. And so I said all that to say, the older I get, the less I understand. The older I get, the more I understand that I don't understand what I thought I understood. You know what I mean, y'all? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because it's so minute. I mean, we're like a speck of sand in the fabric of the world. I don't know anything, but I do know what I feel. That I do know. And that comes through my hands. It comes through her voice. It comes through whatever you all do in your craft, in your life. I feel that what I do, I'm scoring people's lives. That's why everybody likes music, because they can somehow or another. It's a place that they can travel to. It's a time traveler. It's the machine. It's the engine that drives their thought. We are nothing but a series of memories. That's all we are. We're a combination of memories. If you didn't have a memory, you would not know who you were at this second. You couldn't possibly exist if you didn't know who you were. You could exist, but you wouldn't know that you were existing because you wouldn't have any thought. You would have no point of reference. You cannot be anything if you don't know that you are even existing. How can you? And so I'm able to put that in music. I don't understand that. And I think that's why when in Ganja and Hess, when Marlena and Dwayne are making love and you hear all the thumb piano, the Mamili Kami, you hear the bells, you hear the chimes. Oh no, I want to go to something else, which they didn't see. You have to see the whole movie to absorb what I'm talking about. When Dwayne walks out of the church, now he's just been anointed, saved. He came to church for redemption. But at the end of the film, he does, I don't want to give away the end, but I'll give away a little bit of it. He dies in the shadow of the cross. Bill said to me, Sam, I need a piece of music that can simulate a man's soul dying. I said, Now, he was leaving it up to me to score the film. He didn't tell me what to write. He didn't give me that. Everything that you hear on this, in this score, in the CD that some of you are buying tonight, because I got to donate money to the cancer society. I composed because I lived every bit of that film. I didn't know how to come up with the sound of a soul of a person dying. I said, the soul. What instrument can you possibly... There is no instrument in the world. I couldn't come up with that. I don't need these glasses to stuff. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. So here's what I did do. In the house I was telling you about, there's a music room, the one in Pearl Lane. I told Bill and told the crew, lock me in the music room, because the music room had a piano, and it was built in 1730, so there were stencils. The stencil on the floor matched the stencil in the ceiling. They had matching stencils on the floor. And I'm not coming out of this room until I feel that I have written a piece of music that represents the soul. The sound man gave me a Nagra, put it in the room, the cables ran under the floor. They fed, I said, I stayed in that room for 3 days. I didn't come out of that room for 3 days. But they put the food under the floor, or well, they opened the door and then gave it to me, but you couldn't slide it under the floor, but they did a couple of sandwiches. I had my first out-of-body experience. Scared me. I saw myself looking down at myself. I was on the ceiling, and it's like a mad nightmare. Now, I didn't make any of this up because it was all recorded. Remember, the Nagra was running the whole time. I didn't make any of this up. But people heard, there was a knock on the door. Sam, you all right? You all right? Because I was screaming inside. And knocking on the door. Sam, you all right? And I had the all to say, don't come in, because I didn't want to see anybody. They followed orders. I said, don't come into this room till I want you to. They respected that. They respected me as an artist. And Bill was, he was like a Hitler. He said, no, you can't come in there. The first day went by. The second day went by. The night of the second day, I had another out-of-body experience. And that is what you hear on the soundtrack, because I'm screaming. My soul was screaming. My soul was being multiplied. It was being manifested through a spiritual awakening of some place that I had no idea where I was. But everybody heard it, because the morning of the third day, I opened the door, and the whole crew was there, and I was sweating. I looked thin. I'm a thin guy anyway, so if I miss one meal,
you can see it.
You can see it. I missed 3 good days of. My mother used to say, Sam eats 1 meal a day, all day, and I still do to this day. I eat all the time, but I never gain an ounce. Okay. And I said, did y'all get that? And they said, you want to hear it? And I didn't know what they got, because remember, I couldn't remember what I did. And he played it, Jim Hinton. Jim Hinton played the Nagra back. And people, let me tell you, I kept saying, that's me? I mean, who is that? Sound like a monster. I mean, what is that? That's you. That's your soul screaming. And Bill said, that's what we're going to use. That's what we're going to use. So when you hear, it's on the CD, if it's in the movie, when you hear this soul, now you know the story of how it happened. I'm proud of that, I guess, because I can say that's my soul up on the screen. That's one way to look at it. But I think what it taught me was that there's just some things that I don't understand. I don't know how that came out of me. I do know this. There was a purpose. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a reason. That was my reason. That was my purpose. I didn't argue over it. I didn't deny it. I said, okay. I couldn't deny it because it was on tape. And the music editor, we were down to the final editing of the film, and they told me not to come into the editing room because they had a surprise for me, and they had that edited into the film. I didn't know that they were going to do that. That was not my orders, but I knew that I was the composer of the music, so they were looking to me for whatever had to be on that, under that particular scene. What do you think, Mr. Waymon? I said, Okay. Print it. That's it. And that's what the world, and that's what's been immortalized. That's the legacy of Ganja and Hesh, and that's the soul of I think I started talking all about this because we're talking about things we don't understand, and what music does, and I don't tell that story too often, but it was necessary tonight because it felt right to tell you, and I'm glad you're here to listen to it. But that's what happened. Yes, I will play one at a time. I said the release. Is that time? Is it time to go?
Yeah.
It is? Are you all ready to go? Yes. When they don't say anything, it's time to go. Okay, so first of all, but before, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to be performing at Marine's Jazz Cellar. Did we give those cards out? Let's give everybody a card. I have a concert coming up Friday night at Marine's Jazz Cellar.
This is the warm-up.
Yeah, this is, yes. A lot of you have seen me perform, but those of you who have not, please come and check me out. You all are getting a preview of this CD because it's not officially released until Friday. But these are some special copies that I brought that for tonight's show. So you are getting ahead of the public, the world. It's going to be released Friday globally on Hollywood Records. It'll be released in Chile, Australia, Germany, France, Detroit, Chicago, Belgium, Israel. Ganja and Hesh has taken on a cult status that I do not understand, but I appreciate it. Bill will be very proud. Toni Morrison loved it. But I'm going to sing a song now. I do it in F. I never do a show unless I sing this song. And I told Bob Dylan that. Because when he came to see us at the Olympia Theater in Paris. Nina and I were singing this song. Y'all never saw us perform, but we used to sing. We used to play back to back. She would play a Steinway and I would play the Hammond organ, or sometimes we would play pianos together, and we would sit and look at each other like brothers and sisters. We had a good time back in the day. It was an amazing time. And so, because I'm writing my book now with Bill Batson, and it should be out in a couple of years. But we were at the Olympia Theater, and there was a knock on the door backstage. And I opened the door, and I said, "Nina, it's Bob Dylan." She said, "Well, just don't stand there, let him in." And Bob Dylan came backstage, and came into the room, and he said, "Look, I've heard a lot of people sing that song. But I never heard anybody sing it like your sister." So, and he gave her a kiss. And he gave me a kiss too. I said, "Okay, cool." Because you are the first persons who have sang that song that captures the essence of when I wrote it. That's an honor that we paid him. When you can interpret somebody else's song just like they wrote it, that's deep. And so I'm going to do this song for you tonight, because I cannot not do it. So, they say everything must be replaced. And they say every distance is not near. But I remember every face of every man and woman who've put me here. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Any day now, any day now, I shall be released. They say every man needs protection. They say every man you know must fall. But I see my reflection somewhere inside these walls. So I had to say, come on, say, I see my light come shine. If you know the words, sing along with me, come on. From the west down to the east. Any day now, go. Any day now, any day now, any day now, I shall be released. That's it. There once was a man in a lonely crowd, and the man said, hey, you know, don't blame me. I'm not to blame. I'm not to blame. I'm not to blame. I'm not to blame. Here we go, everybody. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Any day now, any day now, I shall be released. One more time, let's go. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Oh, now, any day now, any day now, I shall be. Let's do it one more time so we can go home. I see my light come shining, oh yeah, from the west down to the east. Oh, any day now, any day now, I shall be. Come on, I want to hear y'all. Come on. Yeah, released. Yeah.
Sam Waymon.
Thank you. That's fun. Thank you very much. Phyllis.
And Phyllis Kee.
Thank you.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm Brian Muni.
And that's K-E-E, not K-E-Y.
Not K-E-Y. It's like the great.
Thank you for coming, everybody. Thank you.
It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.